side of the country from where she lives now, from where she has always lived. When the ferry finally did arrive, she embarked with the other foot passengers and climbed the stairs to the top level and pushed through a heavy door to the outside deck, where the ocean wind pressed her clothes against her body. She wrapped her hands around the salty metal railing and looked across the cold water to where she knew the coastal mountains stood, though on this day the mountains were hidden in cloud. So she stared into the blank grey sky and thought, I will always be left by the people I love. Fine. Kathleen was married once. The marriage lasted only a few years, but they remained good friends for over 2 decades because of Una, their daughter, and because they never stopped being fond of each other. So, a lasting friendship. But then one day they had an argument. The argument was bad enough that they didn't speak for 19 years. Not a card, not a text message, not an email. The argument played out on Kathleen's back porch. It was about Una, and other things too. Kathleen told him to leave even though she didn't really want him to leave, and then she watched him go. She watched him stride across the weedy lawn and kick the folding porch table that lay with one fractured leg on its side. She watched him the way he flowed like water, like dangerous water, so full of himself and oblivious to what he stirred up, to what he carried away and what he left behind. Yannick. She watched him rip a dandelion out of the grass with all its green skirts, and she watched him mash the dandelion between his bloodied hands, then get angry at his own mashing hands. He tossed the mangled weed over his shoulder, white roots carving an angry arc in the air. For an instant, the tiny clods of black dirt that flew off the roots held in mid-flight. Long enough for Kathleen to consider calling him back so she could apologize for throwing the folding porch table at him. And the ashtray. She threw an ashtray, too. It pissed her off, though, the way he pulled up that dandelion, because it was her yard. And if she let a dandelion grow, so what? She let a dandelion grow. So she didn't call him back, and instead she watched him step up into his truck and start the engine and grind out of the driveway, hacking exhaust. For several minutes she stayed on the porch, holding her shoe, which she had been about to put on when the argument started. She considered the lingering blue cloud of exhaust until she could no longer tell whether the fumes were actually there, or whether the blue smudge hovering a foot above the gravel was only the memory of fumes. And it was such a fine day, the day they fought. Early September. Birds in the trees and a kitchen struck through with amber light and long shadows. All that. Kathleen's kitchen, her back porch, her backyard. At the time of the argument, this yard was a barren swath of not a lot, just unloved lawn gone to seed and dwarfish squirts of catgrass. But over the years she began to dig and to build. She rented a backhoe and turned over long strips of earth for planting beds. She built a hoop house, a greenhouse, and a work shed. Bought a refrigerated shed. She raised market flowers from seed, zinnias, lilies, larkspurs, cosmos, dahlias, celosia, like feathers, like fire, like tropical coral. Kathleen built a flower farm in this yard where her daughter Una had turned somersaults and played hide-and-seek as a little girl. 19 years since Yannick left Kathleen's driveway amid the clatter and chuck of an old diesel engine. Not a word. And then half an hour ago, he called. Not exactly out of the blue, not entirely incidentally. Yannick isn't the first person to surprise Kathleen today with a phone call, and she's rattled. So rattled that she's just gone upstairs and walked down the hall, past Una's closed bedroom door and into her own room. On her bookshelf, which has never held a single book, is a little wooden box with a little hidden drawer that clicks open with the nudge of a finger. In that drawer there is a tooth. Not much more than a shard of enamel flecked with dry brown blood at its craggy base. This was the first tooth to cut Una's bottom gum. Kathleen tips the tooth out of the drawer and onto her flattened palm to examine it. She remembers how it first felt on the pad of her thumb, how she could feel it in Una's mouth before she could see it, its eager knobs pushing up through Una's bone-hard, slippery gum. Later, this same tooth was the first to loosen, to cling to a tag of skin, bothered by Una's tongue until the socket bled and the tooth fell out, and she presented it to Kathleen, dried to a wrap of stiff and bloodied toilet paper when she got home from school. Kathleen holds her palm up to her nose and smells the tooth, odorless. She tongues her own tooth, a molar that has been warning her on and off for years, and has now...